Hello, this is Viewpoint, where we discover perspective and embrace dialogue. I'm Olaitumba Batunde. Today, we're analyzing the protest led by Sowore in Abuja, free Nnamdi Kanu, and the alleged Christian genocide in the north. When the name Nnamdi Kanu is mentioned in Nigeria, it rarely inspires neutrality. For some, he's a freedom fighter, an unrelenting voice against marginalization in the Southeast. For others, he's a separatist, a man whose rhetoric inflamed old wounds and tested the limits of national unity. But beyond the emotional noise lies a case study in power, justice, and the uneasy dance between state authority and civil rights. The issue begins long before his dramatic arrest. Nnamdi Kanu, the British-Nigerian activist, the leader of the banned indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, a group seeking to resurrect the dream of an independent Biafra, a dream buried in the ruins of the 1967 Civil War, but never forgotten by millions in the Southeast. Through his platform, Radio Biafra, Kanu amplified the grievances of his people, issues of political exclusion, economic disparity, and perceived injustice. What began as passionate advocacy soon transformed into a movement that unsettled Nigeria's fragile unity. His words drew followers, but he also drew the eyes of the state. By 2015, under the Muhammadu Buhari administration, Kanu's voice had become too loud to ignore. His arrest in October that year sparked outrage and protests across major cities in the Southeast and even beyond. For his followers, it was proof that the Nigerian state would rather silence dissent than engage in dialogue. For the government, it was a matter of national security, an attempt to prevent what it saw as a threat to sovereignty. After years of back and forth in court, bail and subsequent rearrest, came the turning point of June 2021. Kanu was extraordinary rendition from Kenya under circumstances that still raised questions about legality and international law. His return to Nigeria was triumphant for some in government circles, but to many observers, it reeked of desperation, a show of strength rather than an exercise of justice. Since then, Kanu has remained in detention, facing charges of treasonable felony and terrorism, charges he has consistently denied. In 2022, the Court of Appeal ordered his release, ruling that his rendition was illegal and violated international law. The government, however, appealed the judgment, effectively keeping him behind bars. That decision to disobey a court order sent a chilling signal about the selective application of justice in Nigeria. It wasn't just about Kanu anymore. It became a test of whether the law still had supremacy over politics. Fast forward to 2025. Under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the case lingers quietly, uneasily. The courts have spoken, the people have protested, yet the man remains confined. And this silence from the current administration has begun to sound louder than any official statement. It is in this context that Omoyele Sowore, journalist, activist, and long-time advocate for civil liberties, stepped into the picture, leading renewed protests, demanding Kanu's release. Sowore's intervention is not merely about one man's freedom. It is larger commentary on the state of justice in Nigeria. For Sowore, the issue symbolizes the widening gap between the rule of law and the rule of power, between democracy on paper and democracy in practice. In the streets of Abuja and across major cities, protesters hold placards reading, "Free Nnamdi Kanu, obey the courts." But beyond the chants and slogans lies a deeper national fatigue, a sense that Nigeria's justice system bends depending on who is standing in the dock. If the law can be so easily ignored for Kanu, what hope is there for the ordinary citizen? Now, let's shift the lens slightly. What does Kanu's prolonged detention say about Nigeria's state's relationship with dissent? In democracy, opposition is not treason. Dissent is not rebellion. But in Nigeria, the line between activism and insurrection seems blurred dangerously so. The case has become less about Biafra and more about the boundaries of expression in nations still haunted by its own insecurities. For the Southeast, Kanu's imprisonment continues to symbolize more than one man's fate. It's a mirror reflecting decades of marginalization, the unspoken resentment that many feel toward a system they perceive as indifferent. But for the central government, Its release is politically delicate, too early, and it might embolden separatist movement. too late, and it further erodes public trust. Meanwhile, Sowore's protests reignite a fundamental question. Can justice exist in a country where obedience to court order is optional? This question doesn't just haunt the judiciary, it haunts a collective conscience. Nnamdi Kanu is not without controversy. His fiery rhetoric, his confrontational stance, and the violent offshoots linked to the IPOB have all contributed to the complexity of his image. But justice, by its definition, does not depend on whether one is liked or disliked. It depends on process, fairness, and the rule of law. As we navigate the emotional terrain of this debate, the role of the media, civil society, and ordinary Nigerians becomes crucial. Are we able to hold our leaders accountable without glorifying those who challenge them? Are we able to call for due process even for those we disagree with? These are not easy questions, but they are the ones that define the earth of any democracy. And now, in this heated political climate, Sowore's voice serves as both a reminder and provocation. A reminder that the fight for justice in Nigeria is far from over, and a provocation that dares those in power to act not out of fear, but out of principle. So where does this leave us? We stand at the intersection of politics, justice, and national identity, a place where decisions made today could refine Nigeria's democratic reputation for years to come. Whether you agree with Kanu's method or not, one truth remains. The legitimacy of a government is measured not by how it treats its friends, but by how it treats its critics. And so as Sowore and others continue to demand justice, one can't help but ask, how long can a government claim to defend democracy while ignoring the very laws that uphold it? If the courts no longer matter, if protests no longer matter, then what does? This isn't just about Nnamdi Kanu anymore. It's about every Nigerian who dares to question power. It's about the soul of a country still wrestling with the meaning of justice, unity, and truth. Because at the heart of this issue is a question that echoes far beyond Abuja or Enugu. Can a nation that silenced dissent ever truly call itself free? Let's go for a short break. We'll be back for the second headline. Welcome back. The show is still Viewpoint. The Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, is accusing the presidency of misrepresenting its position on the alleged killing of Christians in Nigeria, a claim that has sparked a wave of controversy across religious and political circles. The development follows a meeting between CAN leadership and the special advisor to the president on media and policy communication, Daniel Bwala, held on Monday at the National Christian Center in Abuja. Shortly after that meeting, a statement reportedly released by the presidency claimed that CAN dismissed what it called the so-called Christian genocide narrative. But the association has since denied the account, describing it as false, misleading, and insensitive. In a strongly worded statement signed by CAN President Archbishop Daniel Oko, the association said the version of events circulated by the presidency was a deliberate distortion aimed at downplaying the realities of persecution faced by Christians in Nigeria. CAN insists that during the meeting, no official dismissed the killings or questioned their genocidal nature. The group maintains that thousands of Christians have been victims of targeted attacks, with many churches burned and communities destroyed in what it describes as systematic persecution. Archbishop Oko stated that the meeting was recorded by CAN's media team and that, contrary to the presidency's account, no such phrase as so-called genocide was used. He accused government officials of twisting facts in a bid to blunt international scrutiny over Nigeria's worsening security crisis. He added that the association's position remains grounded in evidence, citing verified data from the Observatory for Religious Freedom in Africa, OFA, which documents consistent attacks on Christian communities across the continent, including Nigeria. In that report, OFA highlighted Nigeria as one of the most dangerous countries in Africa to practice Christianity, with 1,000 killed between 2019 and 2023. But the presidency disagrees. Speaking during an interview on Arise News Primetime, presidential aide Daniel Bwala maintained that there is no Christian genocide under the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Bwala argued that the OFA report relied heavily on unverifiably data from local media, NGOs, and the unnamed partners, claiming that it introduced religious bias into his analysis. He explained that both Christians and Muslims have been victims of attacks by terrorists, insurgents, and bandits, though in varying proportion, and that the data represented by OFA does not meet the threshold required to describe the crisis as genocide. According to him, genocide implies a deliberate, coordinated, and often state-led campaign to annihilate a specific group, something he says does not exist in Nigeria today. Bwala further described U.S. Senator Ted Cruz's reference to Christian genocide in Nigeria as politically motivated and detached from verified facts. He added that President Tinubu's administration remains committed to peace, inclusion, and national unity, citing appointments of Christians into key positions in security and governance as a proof of balance. Meanwhile, other prominent religious leaders have also waded into the controversy. The Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Saad Abubakar III, speaking at the opening of the Northern Traditional Rulers Council meeting in Benin, Kebbi, dismissed allegations of genocide against Christians in the North. He described such claims as false and destabilizing, insisting that Muslims and Christians have coexisted peacefully for centuries and warning against misinformation capable of deepening division. In a separate statement from the Vatican City, the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Matthew Hassan Kuka, also cautioned against inflammatory narrative. While acknowledging the suffering of many Christian communities, Bishop Kuka said the term genocide risks undermining ongoing efforts at interfaith reconciliation. He noted that while acts of impunity persist, the current administration has shown genuine signs of inclusion and should be encouraged rather than condemned. Kuka also contrasted President Tinubu's approach with that of the former administration under Muhammadu Buhari, which he said worsened sectarian division through its pattern of appointment. However, the Christian Association of Nigeria maintains that its position has not changed. It is calling on the federal government to act decisively, transparently, and with empathy to end the killings and bring perpetrators to justice. Khan warned that careless statements from government officials could deepen wounds and undermine national peace. The presidency, on the other hand, insists that claims of a Christian genocide are exaggerated and politically influenced, a narrative it says is designed to damage Nigeria's image internationally. In closing, either it is the Muslim or the Christian that are facing this. One thing is important and that we should not overlook. It is that the people are going through attack, and the government should also look into that. As much as they are calling it genocide, which might, spur up controversy in the country, and the president is trying to, maintain peace in the country, it is also important that they look into whatever the Khan is saying, because either it is true or not, we cannot also look over the fact that there might be killing, alleged genocide over there in the north, and there is need to restore peace to those people, because everybody needs to experience peace as a citizen of a country. That is all on Viewpoint today. For more political content, subscribe to VG Media channel and follow us on all our social media platforms at VG Media. I'm Olaitan Babatunde. Thank you for watching.